Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. This is episode 13. My name's Ryan. I'm joined alongside my co-host Corey here. Fun episode for you today. We have Amy and Mitch, a young couple, recently purchased a fixer-upper in Manayunk, and they just so happen to be featured in the Philadelphia Inquirer. So we're very excited for them to share their story, and can't wait for you to tune in. Well, we're very excited to have two special guests on today. We have Amy Wright and Mitch Mathern of Philly Fixer Upper, their Instagram handle. They are new to the real estate game here and have an interesting story to share. So we think.
Yeah.
So I've read, put it that way. So we're very excited to have you two on. If you could just kind of let the audience know a little bit about you and how you got into real estate.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to be here. Well, we have been living in Manayunk. I've only been here for 2 years.
Yeah, I've been here probably like 3 years now. I lived in Roxborough for a little bit, just an apartment, and then we moved in together on Main Street. We lived there for probably about a year, so 3 altogether.
Yeah, but what really got me interested in getting into real estate was the amount that I was paying for a one-bedroom, 500 square feet apartment in Manayunk. Yeah, and then I started looking into how much like a mortgage payment would be, and it's so much less. Like I was paying $1,500 to live on Main Street here in Manayunk, and then so once you start kind of looking into the process of buying a home, it just makes so much sense. And then my mom, she's into real estate investing. She has some rental properties, so she kind of like lit that fire for me too. So how we got here.
Yeah, it wasn't even something that I really thought about. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, let's just like rent for another year, just figure it out. But she was super into it, got me into it. She wants to be like Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah.
Everyone needs a Barbara Corcoran in their life.
Yeah, right?
That's cool. So you guys, what's your background? Are you guys from the area? From the Philadelphia
We're from
area?
South Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to the same high school, Morristown, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So to paint the picture here, you guys were renting. You felt like, you had an opportunity to potentially buy together. And then I guess on comes the pandemic at the same time, right? So did you go into this process like we're going to buy a house and end up fixing it up, or is it something that hit you by surprise? Can you kind of walk down that road?
Yeah, so I started looking for a house last July, and I didn't really know what I wanted, so it took me such a long time to kind of figure that out, and then started seriously looking at homes and going to open houses probably in January. So after searching, I finally found this home, but we didn't close until April. So by the time I bought the house, pandemic was not even in question. And then April 10th was the closing date, and we're like right in the middle of the pandemic. Like, I am making a horrible decision, but it was scary, but it wasn't in sight. So we just kind of deal with it. You can't back out then, so.
How did you pick, I guess, area specifically? We talked about that a little bit, and property. Yeah.
So I knew I wanted it to be a rental property in the future. So kind of looking at the comps in all of Philadelphia, because I love Center City. I love Old City, but the prices of the homes there is crazy. And especially for the amount of house that you get. And so in Manayunk, you can get a really big property for a really affordable price. And it's really safe here, which I think was really important for us. And then just the rental value. We're near all these universities, really close to SEPTA and the highway for commuters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just think Manayunk was a great place overall. Sorry, our dog is like playing with a toy. It's like,
You're good, fun.
That was another thing that I do with. We're getting a puppy May 15th, so that was kind of our all right, we need to get this done so we can get out of the rental and get into a house so we can buy him. So if he's too loud, just let me know and I'll take that.
No, you're good. You're good. So you needed enough space. So that went into factored into your decision. Did you know when you purchased this property that you were going to need to put a lot of work into it?
Oh yeah, I was really only looking at like fixer-uppers, and my biggest criteria for the house, I didn't really care what part of Manayunk, I didn't care what it looked like. I was just caring about the amount of bedrooms that it had, just because the amount of rental value you can get out of that. So here,
Yeah. What are the specs on your on this property?
It's a 3-bedroom with an office, so it can be used as a 4th bedroom.
Nice.
And 1 bathroom right now.
Awesome.
But it's a little less than 1,700 square feet.
Okay, so that's a good amount of space for sure.
Yeah.
Like 1,700 square feet in a 3-bed is pretty good.
And I think we got kind of lucky too. Like the area the house ended up being in, like the Manningham Bridge is right there. There's so many people that walk by all the time. It's a super safe area. The neighbors are great. So I think we got pretty lucky there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
So I think if this is going to help us dive down this rabbit hole, our producer ended up finding you guys on the Philadelphia Inquirer. And if you could just give the background of the story, you know, we already talked about how you decided you were looking for a place, you wanted to find something to rent in the future.
Fixer upper.
How the heck did you get on the Philadelphia?
So I think this was the author of the article. She was on Twitter and she posted, I'm looking for people who are doing DIY projects during quarantine. Like, what are you guys up to? Just DM'd her a picture of what I think we did the floors, like the hardwood floors. And then she reached out and she's like, do you have more pictures? And I was like, oh yeah, we did the kitchen, we did the floors, we did the backyard.
Yeah, we sent her the Instagram and then I guess she really liked what we were doing. We found like some super like quirky things with the house. So I don't know. She must have thought it was a pretty cool story.
Yeah. So then I guess she just wanted the full story to be about this because we were doing a lot more than just one DIY project. So
especially with no experience, very interesting.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to ask you guys. If I had to rate myself on experience from 1 to 10, I'm like, in terms of DIY projects and handiness, I'm a -3. So I needed to know where do you guys feel that you fit into that? Because I think a lot of our audience members would like to know, like they're moving in with their significant other, fiance, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it may be. Can we do this ourselves? Like, can we fix up a house? I wouldn't do it. I just put in windows. I don't like those windows might break in the next 3 days. I have no idea. But like my point is, you know, what's your handiness level? Like, do you guys know that you can do all this?
Yeah. Well, I think if you would have asked like 4 or 5 months ago, I would have said like a -3 as well.
Okay, cool. We're on the same.
But then we kind of just watched a ton of YouTube videos. And then his dad is seriously the handiest person ever.
Yeah, that helped a lot. I mean, I feel like I had some false confidence because I've watched him do so many things. But then, like, the first day here, I was like, I wasn't too sure if I could, like, change the locks, really. But you never know. I think the biggest part is just diving in and trying something. I mean, there's so many resources available. You just kind of learn on the fly, and it worked out pretty well. Like, last weekend, we completely reconstructed the whole, like, mantle of our fireplace, and 3 months ago, I wasn't sure if I could change the locks on the door. So
that's classic. I assume that
you're handy, kind of.
My dad, similar to you,
yeah,
he's in construction, so I've just been around it my whole life, and
that's perfect.
And all that type of stuff. And you're just like, hey, I'm just going to YouTube it. That's for me. That's what I did. And not that I'm super handy, but just reinstall a couple lights here.
Yeah, you want to see them?
Up and coming. I've showed
that one looks so good. Did you do that one? That looks so good.
Thanks, dude.
No, it's not even that one, dude.
Oh, God, yeah. I'll give you the virtual tour later. But, no, so it basically resources for you guys. Have you been using YouTube, or how did you kind of up that handiness level?
For a DIY project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so YouTube was definitely the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And then just asking people who went through it. Namely your dad, and then you have a ton of friends who.
Yeah, one of my best friends is an electrician, which is super handy because that's like one of those expensive things you do on a home. And he just like came over on a Saturday afternoon, like rewire our whole kitchen. I was like, all right, like how much do I owe you for that? And it was not even close to what that would be. Because you know, I had everything in my basement, so don't worry about it. Like God sent.
That's huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So I guess we're kind of painting more of the picture here. So you got in with the intention that you're going to rent this out one day. So you probably understand that by buying a fixer-upper, you're probably building equity out in your property. Did you have a goal in mind of what you bought it for and what you would want it to appraise for after this work's done? Because it sounds like you're doing a lot of projects, and some projects you replace new windows, they may have a big value in new floors, but I don't know personally what changing the lighting to recessed lighting would do to a house. So
so I bought the house with an FHA loan. So my biggest goal was to get that 20% equity in the house so I can refinance out of my FHA loan. So everything I'm doing is to get out of that. So hopefully by this time next year, I want to look into refinancing to get into a conventional loan. So that's why we're doing some of the bigger projects that people really look for when they're buying a house. Like the hardwood floors are refinished, and we completely gutted the kitchen, and the next is the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah, we're kind of at the place right now where the place doesn't have central air, but like we could also put in a bathroom, so it could be 2 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Well, that'll definitely increase it. I mean, that's what a lot of times you're saying that you could turn a 3-bed 1-bath into a 4-bed 2-bath potentially. You're looking to do that
potentially.
Yeah.
But also
1,700 square feet. That can be a 4-bed. Like absolutely.
Yeah, but like some people really love central air. They hate a window box. So like you never know.
Oh, you're saying you're weighing it out
Yeah.
from a cost perspective on what to put the money into. I got it.
Like this is real time. You're in the brainstorm right now.
This is great.
We were going to ask essentially, how do you price out these projects and decide, hey, I want to do this myself versus, okay, maybe I'll have a buddy come over or hire out?
Yeah. So I budgeted out everything before I bought the house. So like the down payment, closing costs, fixing up everything. And then once we finally got in here, once we started getting quotes for things, and then the contractors would be like, okay, this is what we're going to do, A, B, C, and D. And we would kind of look at each other like, oh, we can probably just do that ourselves.
Yeah.
So it was helpful having so many people come and give us quotes because it kind of talked us through what was going to be done, and then we pieced out what we could do and what we couldn't do.
Yeah, and like every person that came and like gave us a quote, we just like kind of picked the brain like, oh, like what tool would you use to do this? Like, what would your approach be? And then like I just kind of like keep a running tab in my head, like maybe I could do that, and like just so you knew exactly what was going into it, it kind of helps.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And the way we kind of vetted the contractors and everyone who came in here, we let them know right up front. We were really transparent that we're on a small budget, and we found the 2 contractors we worked with. We told them, hey, like, can we work together? Like, is there stuff that we can do beforehand that maybe you would have charged us for, or that we can get that done? You can lower the cost, and you can come in and do the rest that we can't do.
Interesting. So I would help, and then they'd have to redo the shit that I messed up. So that's how it would work for me. But that's awesome. Like, so you're essentially using the contractor's knowledge to try to be able to say, all right, I'm at least going to watch the things that I can't do, and then try to be able to do that the next time, maybe on a different project. I have a specific question. I want to know like what's working. Like give us an example of a project that's really working that went well, and then give us an example of one that just didn't, because it's good to know maybe where that handiness level starts.
Yeah. Well, the kitchen was probably the biggest project we had so far. And looking at the kitchen, we really thought it was just going to be cosmetic. So we demoed the kitchen, pulled the cabinets off, ripped the floors up. Underneath the cabinets, the drywall was completely covered in mold. Like they didn't insulate correctly, so then the whole drywall had to come down. Yeah. And then taking out the floors, how many layers of floors were there in the kitchen?
Like 5. It was crazy.
Insane. And they layered them in a way where the kitchen was completely at a slant. It was 6 inches lower in one area of the kitchen than it was in the entrance.
You just made 8.5-foot ceilings, 9-foot ceilings. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. So that was something we planned to do ourselves, just the kitchen, and put everything together. And then we saw there were structural issues, so we had to bring someone in because that's not really something that we were going to do.
No, yeah, we were pretty in over our head at that point. That was one of like the times where we looked at each other and we were like, oh shit, like what do we do here? You know?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Structural is pretty important.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess that one up.
So I want to kick it back to almost the buying process and running numbers. And it just seems like you're pretty organized, and you knew you had a plan going into everything. What resources do you use to stay organized? You know, whether it be a specific program, app, etc., or maybe it's just Excel. I think a lot of people are going to be intrigued by your story, and they're going to be like, all right, they can do it. I want to do it. I want to try it. So maybe how they can set up their organization too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest questions that we get. But I'm huge on Excel. Every single penny I spend goes into an Excel spreadsheet, and I kind of budget out everything I want to spend per month. Since we're kind of on a tight deadline, I want to get out of here in 12 months, and there's a lot to do. So every month I have a budget, and then I put every single penny I spend into an Excel spreadsheet. And if I have some left over, the next month I can do a little more. If I spend way too much, like I did the first 3 months, we'll have to cut
take
back.
a little break a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. So sorry, I didn't pick up on this before, but basically you want to be in there for 12 months and then move on to the next property?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the plan? Yeah, let's see the plan.
Yeah. So I'm kind of doing a combination of the house hacking and then the BRRRR method,
Yeah, cool.
where we bought the fixer-upper, moved in, just because I couldn't afford to buy a house and not live there. So fixing it up while we live here, and then at the end of 12 months, we'll hopefully be ready to buy again, refinance, rent it out, and then do it all over again. Yeah.
So you're doing a combination, sort of like you said, the house hack, but almost like a live-in flip.
Yeah.
But you're not selling it. You're able to rent it out. So it's for people that a lot of our listeners are beginners. Some are more advanced too. But just to recap there, you're saying that you couldn't afford to not live in it because you were able to put less than 20% down, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right. And when you don't live in it, like an investment properties, you have to put 20% down if they're a home, and if they're a multifamily, you have to put 25 generally. So it's just good to have some context there. So your goal is to go from sort of a live-in house hack / flip / BRRRR. You're going to rent this out the next one. And then are you looking to go into another fixer-upper and do the same thing again? Is that what we...
If I can convince him to do another fixer-upper, I would love to.
Yeah, Mitch looks thrilled about this.
I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. It feels like it's a good idea. I mean, you save so much money, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But you're so proud of like everything you do when it's a fixer-upper and you're doing it. Like, but if it's just going to be a rental property, you're like, should we put all that effort in, especially like our own? But you do save a lot of money. So
that's tough because you almost put so much time and effort into it, you want to stay in a way.
Yeah, like the same thing.
It's strange. I'm doing a similar thing where I'm fixing things up just because I know I'm going to live here for a good amount of time, but I want to rent it when I'm done. And I'm like, am I spending too much on this project? But I want it to be nice for the time that I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay someone else to do it. I'll just learn it. But then say we get out of this pandemic here and it's like, all right, I don't have the same amount of time as I had 5 months ago. That's also
very true.
Probably thinking about it too.
Yeah. And the next people don't know how many freaking staples you pulled out of the floor so you can redo the hardwood floors. So it's,
No, it's interesting though, because it's a good barometer for you guys to like, and you'll just learn from it when you go to the next one, because some markets won't increase the value if you have granite countertops or if you have hardwood floors, especially if it's going to be a rental. It won't make it worth any more money. But the Manayunk area that you're buying in, something like that will appeal to somebody who's a young couple or they're going to grad school or something like that. So it actually might work. I have some rentals, so I understand what you're saying, where it's like, do I want to put the granite in this area or do I want to put the hardwood floors down when it won't increase the rent at all? But I think we had a guest on last week who said that, look for a rental property in an area that you would want to live. And I think that's kind of what you're doing. You'd want to live in Manayunk. People like you would want to live there. If you make your house nice, it's probably going to be a good thing. But it is a little bit of a challenge to make sure you're not, like, you definitely don't need, like, marble floors, right?
Right. And you want to stay too. Like, you also mentioned that you not penny pinching, but you're going to exactly on your budget. You don't want to overspend.
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions on the side, DMs about like, hey, what flooring do I pick? What cabinets do I pick? And we're not fixer-upper guys. We're learning as we go. How did you research through a book? Are you just going through contractors once again, or how the heck are you picking things out?
Yeah, so I'm huge on listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts. Are you guys?
Huge.
Love them?
Yeah, we love it.
Love them. Yeah. So for my job, I have to drive a ton. So I literally just listen to them for 8 hours a day. And I've learned so much from them. And then also kind of like I mentioned, my mom's kind of into rental properties. So kind of learning just what makes sense. And we've rented for how many years now? Like we know what works with us. Like, and we're going to be renting with people exactly like ourselves. So
very cool.
So you're kind of like a rookie version of investor girl Britt. Do you follow her?
Of course I do.
Yeah, she's awesome. she's awesome.
I like her.
She does like.
She's so cool.
She does stuff that I couldn't even imagine doing. So that's pretty cool.
Well, we talked a little bit about future goals, and you walked through that. Do you have a long-term play here? Like how many properties do you want in your portfolio? When are you finally going to settle down with the final house? Have you thought that far out yet?
I definitely have.
Okay. Sorry, Mitch.
I know this poor guy. So next, I'd like to do a duplex.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then house hack that. But I think my long-term goal is an apartment complex. Working my way up towards that. But I don't really know when I would cap it out at. No
Okay.
idea.
No, that's good. I bet you're leaving it open. So I think that you mentioned bigger pockets, and Brandon Turner often talks about what's called the stack, where you're able to, and it's a really good strategy, where you're able to buy a single family property. Then your next property is a duplex. That's exactly what I did. I bought a single family home, lived in it with some roommates, still live there, bought a duplex that I rented out. And then, hopefully the next could be a quadplex or an eightplex, like you're saying. So I think that that's a really good approach, especially when you can increase the value of the home and pull the equity out. Like that's allow you to speed to be able to do the next one. And we talk about that a lot on the podcast. So I think it's pretty impressive. And obviously the Inquirer picked up on it. So they know what they're doing over there. I'm just trying to think go ahead.
I just want to, super basic here. What advice would you give someone maybe fresh out of college, or that has a little bit saved up and they're like, hey, listen, I want to jump into real estate in some capacity. Tips, tricks that you've learned along the way that can help them, get to their first project, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that you got to be smart about it, but you also can't be too scared. Like, at some point, you just got to take the risk. And, I mean, buying a home, like, most people straight out of college, what's the biggest thing they ever bought? I don't know, like maybe like a PlayStation or something like that. When you're dealing with like a $250,000,
that would be like,
oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
But like when you're dealing with a $250,000 property, I mean that can you get like googly eyes just looking at the numbers, and you can't be too scared. I think.
And there's so many people to help you along the way that they'll walk you through literally every single step. They'll walk you through it way more than you would even want to be walked through, and it really breaks it down so it's not as scary as it seems. And the money aspect, like he was mentioning, that's what makes people the most afraid. You don't need to put that 20% down.
Yeah.
You can go with that.
That's good to know. And I think did you guys have another thing? Did you guys have a home inspector that came through and said like, okay, Amy Mitch, like you're going to need to do X, Y, and Z. And then that way you have an idea that you knew that the side wall of the house wasn't going to cave in. Because I think that's what people get afraid of. They're like, am I going to be upstairs and my house is going to collapse? And that probably happens one out of every like maybe 20 million homes. So it's like, did you have a good home inspector that you trusted to help you through this?
We had a home inspector.
I think we should have done a little bit more research for a home inspector. Like we just went with the one that our realtor picked, but if we could do it again, I think we would probably.
And it's also hard because the home inspector really can't see everything. Like he couldn't see the mold behind the kitchen cabinets. He couldn't see, or underneath the floors, how like the hardwood floors were like cracking and breaking. Like, there's some things you can't really blame them for.
Sure.
And he's like, I see like a little bit of knob and tube in one place, but like I can't like break into the walls and like figure out what's wiring the whole house. So like, I mean, he could see telltale signs, but I don't know.
Aside from the home inspector, what's something you've learned or would go back and change throughout the process? Maybe something, just like a mistake you made throughout that you're like, oh, now I know what I'm doing and I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah. I think just looking at the fixes that need to be done and then realizing the kind of work that goes into it. Like I saw wall-to-wall carpeting here and I was like, oh great, there's original hardwood floors under it. This is gonna be so easy and make the house look so great. It took us months to get rid of the carpet, rid of all the staples and prep it to be refinished. So it's just having that knowledge now of what the time and the money that goes into it, I think that's going to help us so much better.
It's just like you don't know. Like the next time in, we know projects we should do, like how much time it takes to do a certain project. I mean, we had no idea. So, but
what you're saying is, both of you, it sounds like that the advice that you're giving people is just to like, not recklessly go for it, but also just like take the dive because you're not going to lose. You're just going to learn. You're just going to figure out what's best. And I could relate it to some of the projects that I'm doing, but like it makes sense. Or you just got to like eventually jump off that cliff a little bit and like catch the branches on the way down. Like pull out it's a parachute. Pull out the parachute on the way down. That's the only way that you know that you can fix a mold problem, or that you can put the new floors in, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. And we've made so many mistakes along the way, but I don't really regret any of it because looking into the future, it's going to help us so much. We're going to save so much time and money knowing what we know now after going through it and making mistakes.
I think one of the beneficial things that's coming from this is that even if you're not going to do everything yourself next, you'll know what a job could potentially cost, and you'll know when you're getting ripped off, because that's a big thing, you know, varying projects. I explained on an earlier show, somebody was charging me $900 to come snake my main drain, and somebody else did it for $150. So like, you wouldn't know that unless you went and tried it. So it's pretty
exactly.
Yeah. So we talked about your potential future goals. It sounds like we didn't know that you were in the real estate game to stay. So that's awesome. I didn't know if this is just a one-off. So that's great, because I want to, and maybe we'll put this in earlier in the show, but I want to know, what do you guys do full time? Or has the pandemic affected that? Just because a lot of people may not think they have the time to do some of these projects. Obviously it's perfect timing right now for you to do it, but what do you do full time?
Yeah.
I do like healthcare, pharmaceutical marketing / like communications.
Okay.
And I work at a pharmaceutical company as well.
Oh, okay.
We're
Cool.
both working full time.
Yeah.
You're able to work right now? That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully.
So are these projects, now I think about that, are these projects just nights and weekends kind of thing?
So when the pandemic first started, we were both working from home, so we could get that commute out, so we wouldn't have to spend like 12 hours a day working. We could spend 8 hours a day working.
Yeah.
So we could come here at nights and weekends, but it was hard. He was busier than ever, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah, but I think one thing that helped was, like, our apartment was like a 5-minute walk away. So like, even during lunch, like, I could just like walk over, like take some tile off the fireplace or something and go back. Like it made it a lot easier that it was so close.
It's addicting too, I'm sure. Like, you're thinking about it all day long. You're like, I just got to get over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're like itching.
Yeah, so I think that timing is kind of something good to talk about. You said you were still in your apartment. Did you have a lease that was like, that you had a couple months of where you could not? I didn't know if you were like actually sleeping in the property while you were fixing it up, or
so we made a 2-month overlap where we'd still be in our apartment for 2 months and then be able to move into here, because at the point where we bought it, it wasn't really livable. It was like filthy and disgusting, and we were doing so many demos that it was not livable.
Got it.
Makes sense.
Cool.
So I want to kick it back to, you said one thing you learned along the way is that people shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, because people were receptive and they helped you out and they wanted to show you the ropes. I know you mentioned your mom, and I know you mentioned the contractors. Who else kind of lent a hand along the way, and what gave you that confidence to keep asking questions and kind of build that pipeline of a team, I guess I'd say?
Yeah, I think the Instagram helped a ton. So many people were reaching out and giving us feedback and, oh, hey, I've done this project too, and this is what I did. So the Instagram was great for so many reasons, and that being the most important, but also because it just made us keep going, like, oh, people are interested and they want to see what we're doing. So the community that we've kind of built on there was extremely helpful.
Kind of held you accountable.
It's so funny you say that, because we talk about to give people a backstory. Amy and Mitch they have their own Instagrams, but they created a separate Instagram called Philly Fixer Upper to give people progress. Like, I'm sure that, there's photos and videos and just like walking people through what they're doing. What they're saying is they put their like message out in the universe, right? Like what we're doing. And then people latched on and were like, here, I can help with this, or I can help with that. And if you never did that, you might have your projects might have gone worse if you didn't have people that were like, oh, I can help with this, or I know something about electrical work. Like, so that's really cool.
Exactly.
Super cool.
And we were so scared at first of looking silly, because we're just two people who have no idea what we're doing and we're trying to flip the whole entire house. But I think that kind of like renovated with some people, and they're like, oh, we could do this too. And then, oh, I've done this, and like, you're not alone. So,
well, I think, we went through a lot of things here. I think that this is kind of living proof that if you put your mind to something, you can kind of, even a couple that has never done this before, you guys are living proof that you can do it. I think that's really cool. The Philadelphia area is a great place to buy. And I think that, you're on to something here where maybe the contractors aren't as happy because they're not getting all the work, but like, there's certain projects that, like, I've heard, and this is just me, I've heard that laying tile is not like super, super difficult. I'm not saying that it's not worth paying a contractor to do it. I would pay a contractor because I just kind of manage my time differently, but like something like that, like you can do it if you if you learn. And now YouTube, it's like incredible with what all the resources on there. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we should dive into the last segment of the show.
Yeah.
So last
we're
segment.
gonna put them on the spot. They don't even know this is coming.
Don't even know what's coming.
It's not that big
I think Mitch got it. After that nice little Heisman. So last segment of the show, it's called The Last Drop. And basically the question I like to ask is, what resources would you recommend for people that are just starting out, or maybe even in the, kind of the middle stages of their investing journey here in real estate, specifically books, apps, like anything tangible people can take away that has helped you along the way and that they can potentially implement in their life?
Yeah. So I already mentioned Bigger Pockets. They have a really great community online, and then their podcast. And then I also think that there's a lot of Facebook groups of Philadelphia investors, or I want to own an apartment complex. Like, I'm in all sorts of these crazy Facebook groups. And people are so open and willing to help and explain everything they've been through. So just reaching out and putting yourself out there, that's extremely helpful. And then people like you guys talk to so many real estate investors, and you have so many connections. Reaching out to people like you guys is going to be so extremely helpful.
Go.
Thanks. We'll take that. I'll take that.
Appreciate it. No, that's cool. And obviously we connected on social media, which is kind of like the power of this whole unconventional networking thing that Ryan and I talk about. And like, we're happy to be able to meet people like you guys. We live close by. I can't wait to see what the finished product looks like. But yeah, I mean, that's really good. Even just like adding Facebook groups, because we hadn't thought about that. Just there's a Facebook group for everything now, right? Like, I didn't even know that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I think first off, we just want to say thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah.
It's been awesome getting to know you. The story's amazing. So can't wait to see how it all unfolds down the line. Barbara Corcoran, here you come. You got this.
Yeah, definitely.
Just, so thanks again. I think this wraps us up here for episode 13, Weekly Juice Podcast. People can find Amy and Mitch at Philly Fixer Upper on Instagram.
Yeah.
And happy to connect them. So
thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.